Hello friends, this is Jasu Bakuhatsu and welcome back to Let's Play Mega Man Unlimited. Excuse me. So yeah, it's time for the Wily stages. Hooray! So much fun ahead of us. I think it's tough call here. I definitely want to be full on E-tanks for the Wily stages, and probably weapon energy too, why not? Get ourselves an energy balancer, and sure, why not? Some of these, just cause I don't want to have to replay this crap. I will not be stocking up on extra lives for reasons that I will explain later on, once we get to the end of the first Wily stage. So here it is, and as you may recall, the whole premise of this is that the premise of the story of this game is that Wily is not the bad guy because some crazy virus made some crazy robot kidnap Wily, and apparently when they did so, they wrecked his fortress. So I actually think that's kind of like a neat little concept, sort of traveling through the... And we saw that throughout the regular Robot Master stages as well, and I just kind of forgot to mention it till now. You saw the sort of regular W symbol next to the boss gates was always sort of wrecked. Which is sort of a nice little bit of, I don't know, storyline continuity or something, I don't know. I just thought it was a nice effect. This first segment of the stage here is something you don't actually see too often in Mega Man games, particularly this one. It's just a very heavily based on enemies all over the place, more so than like hazards or platforming or anything like that, which actually I guess is, now that I think of it, that tends to be the way they go with a lot of the Wily Fortress, like the Wily Stage 1 basically in every Mega Man game. Usually has a section like this at the start of it, where it's just a flat bit of terrain where you're just facing off against a whole bunch of enemies. Here, so how would you get up here? Rush Coil isn't quite high enough. You've got to use the... Oops. I think I'm gonna... Anyways, yeah, I gotta use the property of the glue shot. Like I said, basically exactly the same as the concrete shot from Mega Man 9, in that you just... either you can use it to sort of freeze enemies, or you can use it... That's an uncommonly, like, nice free guy to have there. There's, like, nothing... Oh. Nice free guy there, and then the jackass free guy there. This is actually pretty tricky, because if... yeah, Rush just sort of... it's a bit hard to see there, but Rush sort of just instantly disappears as soon as he hits the edge of the screen. So, yeah, if you're not careful, you'll end up falling down if you don't jump off soon enough, and if... Yeah, you'll end up falling down into spikes on the previous screen. So that is instant death if you don't fall off, if you don't jump off Rush at just the right time. That jump is also trickier than it looks. The hitboxes for the spikes in this game are pretty large, larger than usual, I think, in Mega Man games. And here we've... Okay, one up, down there, down, just out in the open, and then the W here, that's just, like, stupidly hazardous. I don't get it. Like, why even bother? That W tank is just not worth it under any circumstances, and I could die here if I'm not careful. We are coming up on a checkpoint pretty soon after we go through the Rush Jet segment. The only way through here is to use Rush Jet, so if you... So yeah, this is not... Mega Man 3 had a segment like this where it was just based entirely around Rush Jet. It's not the worst thing in the world, but what makes it really irritating is, of course, the weapon energy requirement. There's no... Like, yeah, weapon energy and items in general don't respawn if you die, so if you end up spending too many lives trying to get through this segment, you'll just end up running out of weapon energy, and you'll either have to go back and farm up weapon energy off enemies to refill your Rush Jet, or you'll just have to suicide over and over again to, yeah, restart the stage with full weapon energy, which is irritating, and that's... Yeah, I don't really... It's not so bad there, just because you're You haven't reached the checkpoint anyway, so it doesn't really matter. The checkpoint, by the way, was the screen just prior to this one, right at the bottom of this big vertical climbing segment. This is another example of them just sort of using the shield enemies. It's like, I feel that there's maybe better enemies that they could have used here to sort of make this segment interesting. The shield enemies are not really any sort of real hazard as far as clearing the level. It's just sort of an irritation that you have to sort of wait out. Just sort of, yeah, just sit tight, wait for them to expose their backs, and then go through. Not super irritating or anything, it's just kind of a time waster and slightly irritating, I'll say. And yeah, I think that these... Oop! Oh, yeah, we got the... Good, nice thing we had that there. Because, yeah, like I said, I kind of want to avoid wasting too many lives on these stages, just because... I mean, like I said, the Wily stages in this game are like a huge step up in difficulty from the regular stages, even more so than in most Mega Man games. Not only are they a lot more difficult, but they're also a lot longer than any of the previous stages as well. So yeah, that's sort of all of the problems I mentioned earlier the things I don't like about this game are sort of compounded. This part is irritating. You can sort of jump off and deal with that guy, but I don't bother. It's just a huge waste of time. There is a shortcut actually here. You can use the glue shot on the spikes and then hop over them onto the ladder. Instead, I'll just do it the intended way and fall... Okay, that was really close. I don't see why this like thing needed to be here. This is just like a huge waste of time. And you noticed actually there was the E-tank at the bottom of this segment, which is just I don't know why I had to fall down to show you that, but you remember that E-tank back in the first room, which is just a massive waste of time to get that. You gotta redo the entire vertical climbing segment here if you want that E-tank. It's just really dumb. I don't know why anyone would go that far out of their way just for like a dumb E-tank that you can get for 30, I think it's like, yeah, 30 bolts, and bolts are abundant in this game, so I don't know why anyone would bother. That's just, like I said, power-ups in general in this game are sort of tend to be hidden in more dangerous places than they should be. It's just almost always more trouble than it's worth. Motherfucker, I didn't realize that these tiny pellets were going to be so much of a pain to get too. Okay, so we've got that taken care of, and I should not be using my rush jet, so okay. I mentioned the previous checkpoint was at the beginning of that last vertical segment. There's another checkpoint here, but the checkpoints in the Wily stages work really, really strangely, and I don't understand why they did them this way. Basically, even though there's a checkpoint here, it's a boss checkpoint. Like, if I die during this whole... stupid enemy. If I die at any point during this segment, I will not go back to this checkpoint. I'll go back to the previous checkpoint at the beginning of the last vertical segment. And here we've got another rush jet segment. So, and once again, if I die too many times here, I'll just end up running out of weapon energy and not being able to clear this stage. And I'll have to either farm weapon energy or suicide until I get a game over. But anyways, yeah, so that last checkpoint I mentioned, that isn't sort of a real checkpoint until later. You don't get the benefit of that checkpoint until you go through the boss gates. So yeah, and yeah, there is no, like, checkpoint right outside the boss gates like in the regular Robot Master levels. If you make it to the boss here and you die at the boss, you'll go back to that screen where I pointed out that the checkpoint was. But you don't get the benefit of that checkpoint just for passing that screen. If I die during this segment, I go back to the previous checkpoint at the start of the vertical climbing segment, which is just really weird and dumb, and I don't understand why they did it that way. Like, if you're not going to actually activate the checkpoint at the place where the checkpoint is, and you're going to make me go all the way to the boss to activate the checkpoint that was like way back, way further in the level. And I mentioned the boss gates. This is sort of the boss gates here, as it were. This is the checkpoint. So if I die from here on forward, I'll go back to the point that I mentioned. And here's the boss. It's sort of a, yeah, nice little throwback to the dragon from Mega Man 2. And another thing that's sort of a throwback to the dragon in Mega Man 2 is that this whole boss here is pretty much instant death if you get hit by it in any way. These platforms are so tiny and that it's, yeah, basically one hit is instant death, which is combined with the fact that you need rush energy to make it through the previous segment. This is really irritating. Like, this is a boss that can be really, really tricky to get through, and that you might end up dying at a lot because, like I said, one hit is death. So I'm not going to risk it here. I'm going to use this guy's weakness, just because, yeah, I'm going to have to replay a lot of the level. And so when he shoots the sparks out on the side there, that shoots an electric beam to... at first I thought it always shot, like it would always electrify the ladder that you're on. And then I actually gave a piece of advice to a guy on a forum asking about this boss. Like, how do I beat this boss? And I'm like, make sure you always get off the ladder when he does the electricity attack. Like electrifies the ladder, because he'll always pick the one you're on. And then it turns out that I was completely wrong there. Sometimes he'll pick other ones, although most of the time he seems to choose the one that you're on. And I'm actually gonna keep talking about this level just a little bit more before cutting the video. You can get a nice little sneak peek of the first screen of the next Wily stage. So, yeah, like I said, that boss is really difficult, and it kind of tricks you into thinking that the ladder is the way to go there. In my opinion, you really want to avoid climbing up on the ladder on that boss. It's just much more hazardous than it's worth, I think. And it's a lot easier to dodge his spark attack and to switch ladders quickly if instead of climbing on the ladder you just use the little platforms on the bottom. It's just way, way easier to beat the boss that way. Way, way easier to dodge his attacks. Way, way easier to switch to a safe spot when he's electrifying a ladder. And if you're using his weakness and using the homing capability of the jet missile, which is his weakness, you don't need to worry about getting on the level with him. So it's... yeah, that's sort of my pro tip for that boss, is just ignore the ladder as much as possible, just use the platforms at the bottom, jump to a different one when he electrifies the ladder behind where you're standing, and jump over the sparks, and don't get hit or you'll die, and you'll have to redo the entire rush jet segment, and if you die too many times, you end up having to replay the entire... like, you end up having to suicide over and over again to replay the entire level, because you're out of rush energy and can't finish the level. And that happened to me the first time. I stocked up on 9 lives for the Wily Fortress, and I died like 3 or 4 times against the crab boss, and I had to suicide for the rest of my 5 lives because I couldn't get through the rush jet segment. There was nothing to do but kill myself. That was just yeah, there's so many things about that level are just horrible. The way rush jet, right before the boss segment, the way the checkpoints are lined out, the boss itself, it's just awful level, and just an completely unnecessary long ladder climb and the completely unnecessary long vertical climb if you go for that E-tank. Just so many things about that level piss me off. It's just really dumb and irritating in a lot of ways, and really just completely broken in other ways. So it's, yeah, awful level in my opinion, and it's only gonna get worse from here. So look forward to that, and I'll see you next time.